Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Reed Gusmus. I am the Director of Marketing here at QASymphony, and I'm excited to talk today about a webinar titled Modern Software Testing, Thinking Beyond HP Quality Center with Mr. Kevin Dunne. And today, we're going to get started by Okay, guys, so just a couple housekeeping items on how to watch this webinar. Audio for this webinar is delivered through your computer. Make sure that your speakers are turned on or turned up to hear the audio, or even use a set of headphones to get good audio quality. Typically, if your audio quality is choppy, normally it could be because of your internet connection. You can always try to hardwire into your computer to get a solid internet connection. You can customize your webinar viewing experience by increasing, decreasing, or minimizing the size of the widgets on the On24 webinar screen. And of course, if you have any questions throughout the course of the webinar, enter them into the widget on the bottom left-hand side of the webinar console. QASymphony. So today's webinar is brought to you by QASymphony. The QASymphony offers a robust test management platform purpose-built to integrate with Jira and to help Agile teams centralize, organize, and gain visibility into software testing. We have some great upcoming webinars. The first one is with a thought leader named Ust Qtp. The title of that webinar is Tips, Tricks, and Lessons Learned for Hiring Professional Testers. Ust will cover tips, tricks, and lessons around interviewing and hiring top-notch professional testers. Secondly, on August 30th, we have Mike Cooper and Kevin Dunne for a webinar titled Evolve or Die, Healthcare IT Testing. Mike and Kevin will discuss industry-leading best practices around software development with a specific focus on testing and quality assurance within the healthcare industry, really aimed at realizing cost savings and application improvement. So on today's webinar, we have Kevin Dunne of QASymphony. Kevin Dunne is the VP of Strategy and Business Development and ensures our continued commitment to innovation and delivering tools to create better software. Kevin has a deep interest in emerging trends in software development and testing and is dedicated to collaborating with thought leaders in the space. Kevin comes to QASymphony from Deloitte, where he managed testing on a large government and Fortune 500 engagement. And then lastly, folks, this webinar will be recorded and available on demand just a few hours after the webinar is over. The system will automatically send you an email once it is available. It takes anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. As a reminder, on the left-hand side of the webinar platform, we encourage you to use the Q&A widgets to ask questions during the webinar. And finally, at the end of the webinar, we'll ask you to take a short survey. The questions are designed to gauge the quality of the content and the quality of the speaker, so we would appreciate your feedback there. And without further ado, I'm going to let Kevin kick it off from here, and take it away, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Reed. Good to see many familiar names again on the webinar registration list, so we always love to see people coming back and engaging with us on new and exciting topics. And this is one in particular that I feel very much so passionate about. Having come from Deloitte to QASymphony, I was a large user of HP Quality Center in the past at Deloitte, and felt like, obviously, while it is one of the best tools in the market as far as waterfall and legacy testing goes, it certainly has its challenges when it comes to applying that in a more modern Agile environment. So really today is meant to be educational. It's not meant to specifically call out any tools, out of any sort of bad blood or anything of that nature. It's really to educate people on the history of the HP tools and how they came to be, and really historically kind of show what trends have changed since those tools were architected and became popular, and how those changes really will cause some of those tools to cause friction and start to fall apart in a more agile development environment. And really, we want to paint a light on what the future strategy is as far as we know it from HP, just from what we've seen out on the press wires as well as at their recent events, and help to inform people about where we think they are headed and talk about where we're headed and really where we are today and how we're positioned to help organizations that are using HP and finding it to be ineffective and agile for whatever reason, which we'll go through, how we can help and have helped many dozens of companies make a successful transition off of HP onto our platform. So really, to kind of go back to the beginning and paint a picture for those of you that aren't aware of this, and I always really like to understand sort of the history behind tools and how they came to be. The HP tools, as far as we know them, like HP Quality Center, HP Unified Functional Tester, as it's called today, as well as HP Load Runner and Performance Center, were really tools that were initially architected by a company called Mercury, which is based out of Israel and was a very large company at the time that HP acquired it back in 2006. Had nearly 3,000 employees and almost $1 billion in revenue, about $800 million in revenue. So that was the largest software acquisition that HP made to date. It's kind of like a smaller fish eating a larger fish in some ways, if you look at it as, purely the HP software business. So I know it could be difficult for some of you to see, but this is taken directly out of the HP 10Q report, so it's nothing confidential here, showing really the breakdown of revenue for HP at the end of 2005. Right before the acquisition was made. And you'll see here that less than 1% of revenue was coming from software and other. So it's by far the smallest category. If we remember back then, HP was really more of a printer, hardware, and services company. So this is a very small segment, but one that they were looking to grow given all of the changes that were happening with the hardware space. And so overall, it was about a $1 billion or less line of software business, and they bought another $1 billion a year business and integrated into it. So really, the point to get across here is that this was a very large acquisition for HP, and one that really involved taking the Mercury human capital in-house and having them to sort of continue building the product, but with really more of a focus on maximizing revenue in the past, where it had previously been focused more around innovation on the product itself. So, you look at Mercury, they had a number of tools, over 30 tools. They covered a lot of different things from network topology to application performance management in many areas. But the three core products, which constituted the bulk of their revenue, really were Quality Center, obviously, which sort of transitioned into HP ALM as well. Was previously called Mercury Test Director when Mercury owned the product as well, so you guys might be familiar with that name. There's the QTP, which is now called Unified Functional Tester. So Unified Functional Tester has really taken QTP and integrated another Mercury product called Service Tester into it, among some other minor changes, and then Load Runner and Performance Center. So these are all Mercury products that have been around for a long period of time. And you'll see as far as HP's testing tools are concerned, they really make up the bulk of the sort of well-known, well-received products in the market. There have been some other minor tools that have been brought to market by HP, built internally, a lot by the remaining folks that have hung on from Mercury throughout the last 10 plus years. Some of those tools being Mobile Center in particular is one of the largest tools that's been built internally, and also Storm Runner, which is kind of a test cloud and web-enabled offering, a lot of which was taking the existing components of Performance Center and Load Runner and transitioning those into the cloud. So really overall, not a lot of new developments in the past 10 years. I mean, really we see most of the sales revolving around the core products acquired through Mercury, and not a lot of net new development of new products to bring to the market. So that's to paint the picture. In our opinion, yes, while there are releases and there have been some smaller features and enhancements released here and there really hasn't been much of a major shift in the HP tooling in the last 10 years, at least since it's been acquired from Mercury. So we did really want to discuss what type of problems would arise from that and really try to pinpoint some of the pains that you guys might be experiencing using these tools in a more modern environment, and then see how we can potentially help you out with the QASymphony offering. So HP software business today, if we look at today's current stance, coming out of the 2015 annual report, they're doing about $3.5 billion in software revenue. So grown from about 1.8 in revenue right after they acquired Mercury, because they had the $1 billion plus the $800 million that they acquired from Mercury, and they've grown to $3.5 billion. But it's important to note that $2.8 billion of that came through acquisitions. So most of that revenue stream has been acquired. The actual organic growth within the revenue stream has been very small, about 2.5% there, which wouldn't even really accommodate for inflation. So really the model that HP has gone after and continuing to build is inorganic growth, kind of bringing products together, acquiring products to put together a platform, but not really focusing as much on building revenue through building net new internal products. And it's interesting to see some of these products are starting to be sold off. Extreme, for example, I was told was sold off less than a couple weeks ago. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it seems like HP might be starting to feel like they have used these assets potentially to the most that they can, and that they might be finding some new homes for those. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation as well. So really, to give some perspective here, right? I mean, if we try to think back to what things were like more than 10 years ago when HP acquired Mercury, we didn't even have the iPhone. So that's just to kind of give you some perspective and a vantage point. I mean, how much have things changed? Given that we have mobile. Back at that period in time, nearly no content was consumed over mobile, just given that we barely were able to connect to the internet on our phones and use, flip phones with outdated browsers. And now you have companies and statistics showing that more than 65% of content is consumed on mobile. So obviously, that's been a huge shift in the market, and that shift in the market has caused development trends to change drastically. So we're not just focused on mobile, but it's really just to make you think, wow, 10 years doesn't sound like a lot of time, to have passed, but it really is, and really a lot has changed. And we'll walk through sort of our opinion of 5 of the key drivers that have been causing this change over the last 10 years. So there's been many things that have changed, and it would be unfair to really boil all of this down into just 5 trends. But really, as far as we see it, these are 5 of the biggest drivers, of change and biggest impacts in the last 10 years. So you have obviously Agile Adoption. Agile is everywhere. We've got the Agile Conference going on right now, Agile Alliance here in Atlanta. Currently, where we're headquartered, and there's many thousands of people attending there. It's obviously a very popular event, difficult to even get tickets to attend. So it's just goes to show how popular and how mainstream Agile has become. We've got a number of tools, both open source and best of breed, cheaper tools like Jira, for example, that are really driving a shakeup in how companies build their internal development stacks and how they try to optimize cost, and functionality across their organization. SaaS has obviously become a huge driver in terms of what we can provide to customers, how quickly we can develop, how many maintenance costs we can remove from IT organizations. And so that's obviously shifted a lot of how people think about developing software and owning assets to help do that. We've obviously got multi-channel developments, the web browsers. Chrome, is barely even a concept as a browser back 10 years ago, and now it's really taken off and taken most of the market share, both on desktops as well as on mobile devices. And finally, you've got Devops, and automation, and all of the trends and rise of Jenkins has obviously changed a lot of the ways in which we work and fueled a lot more need for collaboration and visibility between the tools in the ecosystem. So first major trend, and one that I think everyone really could be on board with, is the growth of Agile. This is looking at the version 1 State of Agile survey. The first year they actually did this survey was in 2006, so they're also coming up on the 10th anniversary of running the survey. And so the first year that they ran this survey, they had about 39% of organizations respond that they were doing any Agile at all. That would include just one person in a room, doing Agile one day a year. So only 39% of companies, interestingly, about 10 years ago were doing that. And now they claim about 95% of people are performing Agile. And so this is probably, a little bit aggressive number, but even conservatively, if we peg it at 80%, we're still doubling the amount of people who are doing Agile now, and it really is Agile everywhere. Not just more organizations trying out Agile, but also more organizations adopting Agile across their entire development team, and seeing a lot of emergence of scaled Agile framework, things like that help organizations to standardize Agile and roll it out across all of their teams. So it's really becoming one of the leading, if not the ultimate development methodology, driving a lot of efficiencies and a lot of savings for companies, and helping them to keep their customers happier and get products to market more quickly. The second major trend we wanted to drill into further here is the shift towards open source and best of breed tooling. So, previously companies were very used to buying software from an HP or from an IBM. Borland 10 years ago had a large market share, CA as well, and offer full-featured end-to-end solutions that are able to address all needs for the team. And in a very simple way, very easy, interact with one account rep and purchase everything that you need sort of in one rolled up agreement. But we're seeing that that's changed. Open source is a big driver, especially Selenium, and also Jira and Atlassian in particular, the company and their product Jira, have really taken a lot of market share from some of the legacy vendors like HP. And these stats here are showing what the transformation has looked like, and this is only through 2012. So our numbers today would estimate that Jira has certainly gotten more market share than HP. Jira's got more than 60,000 customers today on the platform. Selenium is continuing to grow, and almost double year over year, as is JMeter. So we would assume these numbers haven't been surveyed again for 2016, but in the last 4 years, this trend has definitely continued, and it's probably safe to bet that Jira at least has 50% of the market share in comparison to something like HP ALM. And it's hard to argue that, because you look at this growth trend here, and us being very much so tied into the Atlassian ecosystem with more than 80% of our customers integrated into that platform, we really have acknowledged the growth and love to see the growth of Atlassian, and it's really transformed our business as well. And so for anyone who's worked in a software company, it's tremendous to see in 10 plus years of this 100%, if not more, doubling of revenues. And here you see it's a shift not only in customers, in acquiring more customers, but also getting customers of a larger size. So they've not only moved into more organizations, but they've also spread their reach within those organizations, and over the last few years almost doubled the size of their per customer revenue, and that's through not only acquiring more users, but more products, which you see here on this graph. They introduced Bitbucket. Confluence is obviously popular and was one of their core products HipChat for collaboration, and Bamboo as well. So very interesting company to watch, and really has shaken up the space quite a bit. And then you also have Selenium. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with a company called Indeed.com, but probably one of the largest posters of technical jobs across the world. And if you look at job postings that are demanding Selenium engineers or Selenium skills, they've really outpaced and blown away the number of people looking for UFT or QTP skills. And I think the reason about that really mostly is one, about cost. So it's obviously cheaper to use an open source solution like Selenium, at least as far as the licensing basis, and that means more people can get in and contribute automation and be more collaborative, which definitely aligns with Agile. But the other thing as well is just kind of the openness of Selenium. It can be used in a lot of different frameworks, a lot of different languages, and in doing so, people can learn to contribute to the core code base, and they're not forced to use outdated language like Visual Basic, VB Script, which is what UFT and QTP is typically based in. JMeter is really the complement to that on the performance testing side. So we're seeing that it's a little bit behind where Selenium is, but you see that it's kind of going in the right direction here. It's going up and to the right, and you see that the postings and mentions for load runner skill sets are going down and to the right. So we're really seeing an overtaking here of JMeter as far as open source technologies go for performance and load testing. So that was really the second trend there around sort of the adoption of new tools and open source best of breed. The third trend we've seen is really around SaaS technology adoption. It's becoming more mainstream. It typically was something in the past where financial services companies wouldn't touch it, government entities wouldn't touch it. It was really kind of an unproven thing with a lot of stigma around it, and now you see that these companies are adopting cloud-first technologies, and even government entities are needing to make a case for why they cannot adopt a cloud-first technology, and they almost have to find a reason why they need to make an exception to get on-premise software. So really building for the cloud and building something that scales in the cloud is a key driver for success in sort of the new age of software development and software development tools. You've got here interesting statistics around browser use and browser adoption. So back when Mercury was acquired, we see that Internet Explorer had almost 60% of the market share, and we've seen that's really dwindled, with the changing of a lot of UI frameworks, rolling out of Flash into some of the newer HTML5 things that are more well supported in some of the more modern browsers, like Chrome, for example, which has eaten into a lot of market share, and also the popularity of Mac. I mean, Mac has become much more popular, OS X much more popular, and in that happening, IE became an afterthought because that's not a browser that can work across platforms. And this is a final stat here, alluding to the growth of Jenkins. Interesting here, we see a very tight correlation, which you would expect with the number of active Jenkins installations and the number of postings for jobs that need Jenkins-specific skill sets. So most, if not all, companies are at least thinking about how they want to do DevOps, either now or sometime in the future, if they haven't implemented it already. And so that's obviously changed the way in which software development processes run and the tools that you need to support that. So we really feel that Qtest is today's testing solution, and we'll walk through here sort of the thoughts that we took along the way as we built this platform. We're only about 5 years into developing Qtest. So we were in the midst of these transitions as we came out and identified the problems with HP and really went out and tried to build a better tool that would accommodate for these modern testing trends. But before really, giving you our opinion, we would love to understand for customers using HP. You may be happy with HP today, and you may not have any complaints about the platform and how it works, in which case you can feel free to answer nothing there, or if you're not using HPQC, you can answer nothing there. But for those people who are using HPQC and do have struggles or complaints around it, be interesting to know sort of what the major problems are that you're having with that platform. And so if you guys can take a second here, we'll let you fill out the survey, and then we'll take a look at the answers before walking you through what we think some of the major drawbacks are. All right. A lot of people said there's nothing wrong with QC, which I'm not surprised. For certain workflows, it can be a good tool, but we do see a lot of people drawn to cost being a major issue, as well as integration to Jira. So we certainly see those as two major issues, and then ease of use, as well as integration to open source seem like kind of secondary problems there. So that's good. It's very well aligned with where we have spent our time in putting together this presentation. So we'll kind of allude back to those trends that we saw earlier and we noticed earlier, and talk about how the product, specifically QC, may cause some problems for you given these trends, and then how we have built our solution in a different way to kind of get around those trends and best allow you to work within the Agile trends that we're seeing in the market. So some of the reasons, looking at Agile Adoption, some of the reasons why we feel people don't see HPQC as an Agile tool and why we see HP building a new platform or trying to build a new platform called Octane to really capitalize on Agile and Devops. It's a number of reasons. You can't really point to one thing, and Agile means a lot of different things to different people, so they might have different specific problems. But the three major categories we see are definitely around kind of the heaviness of the UI and the workflow. So it's definitely a clunkier, more outdated UI, and it's very restrictive on the types of things that you can do in the workflows you can use. And I'm not just saying that, based on opinion. I'm saying that based on seeing a number of customers who are only using HP as a test case repository, and a very expensive one at that, because they have not been able to get the requirements modules and the release modules and the test lab modules to accomplish the things that they're trying to do inside of Agile. So that's certainly the biggest takeaway I've seen. And in my own experience training people at Deloitte, it took sometimes up to 2 weeks to take these, new testers who were maybe coming from the business to do UAT and really get them up to a point where they are efficiently using HPQC. And so that's a lot to ask of a tool to have to understand it that much. And, having a 900-page user manual for a tool is great and certainly means that it's a very full-featured tool, but I'm yet to see many organizations that capitalize on all of those features. So a lot of that just ends up becoming overhead and friction that stops you from getting the most out of the investment. It's very rigid structure. I mean, it's really built around, the idea that HP is going to be your source of truth for release management, for requirements management, for defect management. And so as far as integrating with other tools and opening up that structure, sure, you can synchronize data, but it never really works in the way that those tools are treated as the real source of truth. So that often causes a lot of problems as far as the tools are structured. And then finally, if you look at the licensing, obviously it's very expensive. That's why there's a lot of discounting that does happen to get some deals done and across the goal line from what I've heard from customers that have moved from HP. But it really, prevents collaboration, right? In Agile, everyone owns quality. Everyone's supposed to be part of the testing and quality management process. And it's very expensive licensing that prevents that from happening. And it's, very sad to see that, because you never want people who want to be part of quality to have to be shut out of being a part of that, holistic team approach. So those are the three major things that we see certainly within the market. Now, as far as Qtest is concerned, like I mentioned, we built our tool less than 5 years ago when we started, so we have been able to really get a lot of that feedback from our customers and from studying people leaving HP or wanting to leave HP and build to that. So we've got very intuitive workflows. We built on a modern web UI, so there's no thick client involved. So it allows you to get up and working quickly and efficiently. And most of our customers are trained and up to speed on the tool in as little as 2 hours, which is very refreshing for me, at least, having done a lot of training for the customers that we've brought on board over the last 3 years. We've got a very adaptable structure. We have teams that are, embracing waterfall still or more agile fall and looking to move towards agile. And we also have teams doing BDD and CI and CD. And we have a combination of tools. We're not just a point solutions. We're very flexible in the type of solution that you can bolt together to make your process work within our tool. We're really more of the mindset that you should define a process and our tool should be able to support that rather than having to enforce a process on you based on the way that we built our tools. And then finally, we have a lower licensing cost by a large factor, and we also include support. You get great customer support. Our customer success managers respond to your ticketing requests in typically an hour or less during our business hours. You'll have a dedicated manager to assist you in training, best practices, how to take advantage of the new features that we roll out frequently. So you'll feel much more loved, I believe, from QASymphony than a lot of customers might feel from HP or from having to have a third-party support provider that HP provides. The HP Jira integration, we'll just say that, it really is an afterthought. If you look at HP's strategy, it's not a surprise because, really embracing Atlassian and embracing Jira is embracing one of their competitors as far as the ALM product set is concerned, and they are potentially losing license revenue by allowing companies to embrace Jira for requirements and defects management. On our end, we really don't offer a competitive solution to that, so we've taken a different approach, and we very much believe that customers should embrace Jira and should as a requirement and defect tracking tool, but they'll also come to find that Jira has no solution around testing, and that's where we can come in and be the system of record for those assets. So some of the common issues we see with the HP Sync, whether that's the HP Synchronizer that's provided through HP or some of the other external solutions, like, for example, the Jira Bridge, is that you'll see delays. So many delayed syncs, anywhere up to an hour, maybe 24 hours, depending on the volume of data you need to sync before defects go from HP into Jira and vice versa. So that's obviously a huge stumbling block if you're trying to close out a critical sprint in Agile, and that's a problem that's going to hit you, every time you close out a sprint, which is going to be every, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, which is going to be a pain that you'll feel quite often. The performance is poor. There's often crashes, often corrupted data in between the two systems because you're actually syncing everything back and forth, and people can be working on 2 items at the same time in the 2 different systems, and then that causes a data loss as things are synced across. Very costly to maintain the integration. If you just add one status on the Jira end, for example, of a ready for retest status on a defect, and you don't add that over in QC or in ALM, then when you go to sync data back and forth, there's going to be errors there because it cannot find the corresponding status to map it to because it didn't know that that status previously existed. And there's many permissions loopholes as well. So you can allow potentially for someone to edit a requirement that came from Jira on the QC or ALM side, and that could potentially cause a whole sprint, to be replanned and something to fall out of a sprint plan and cause ripple effects all across the system. As far as our integration is concerned, it's a different approach, so it's read-only. You cannot edit requirements, for example, in our system. We take you out into Jira to do that under your own Jira permissions. So Jira is a system of record for requirements and defects. We feel that's the best way to approach it. And we've also created a system where defects are submitted directly into Jira without being synced. So we don't actually, when we are integrated with Jira, manage any of the defects. We allow people to submit defects directly into Jira. Then you can use your Jira permissions, the native workflows, the native type ahead functionality that's offered within Jira, and not have to manage the maintenance of mapping statuses and fields between the two systems. As far as SaaS is concerned, I saw that was a major driver for most people on the webinar. For a lot of people it is, so I'm actually interested that not as many people responded to that. But either way, SaaS can save money for a lot of companies that are looking to reduce the amount of IT maintenance that they need to do and the number of upgrades that they need to install. And so our SaaS offering is different than HP in that it's multi-tenant, so it does really allow it to scale as you have additional users. The HP SaaS model is more of a server in the cloud type of model, so you have to pay a minimum fee every year to keep that server for yourself. So if you scaled down to one user, for example, it would become very cost prohibitive for you to be in the cloud, and it doesn't scale, in advance. So it's, you've really dedicated a certain number of servers for yourself, but should you decide on a certain day that you need, 10 more or 100 more people to log in and use the system than is typical, or you're doing a lot more API calls than you typically might do, the system may not perform dynamically and be able to scale up resources in the way that you would expect a true SaaS offering to work. And so, we won't spend much time on it because it's not of major interest to most people on the webinar, but just for educational purposes, the difference between HP and us is that we allow you to use a pool of resources, a pool of servers from front to back. So as more users log on, you may have 10 times the users you typically have log in a typical day currently in the system, but we treat that amongst the pool of all the other cloud users, and all of those systems scale up and down as they need to. So it's a very little blip on the radar to us in the grand scheme of things, and we can definitely handle you as you scale resources up and down. We talked about the browser support. This is really one of the bigger gotchas and one of the big usability concerns about QC is the thick clients interface. So there is a 300 megabyte thick client that needs to be installed on every machine that's going to access QC and use the core functionality of that being the test case management and the test execution or test lab module. So that does require the client to be installed, and the very unfortunate thing about the client is, one, it's only compatible with IE 10 and 11, so you can't really choose what browser you want to work and do your testing in, and many companies are moving away from IE towards things like Chrome and Firefox. And the second major drawback is that every time you do a server update, you'll typically be forced to do a client update as well. So you'll go through headaches and maybe weeks to get approved a upgrade to the server with the HPQC software on it, and then you'll need to go out to each and every user's machine and update those with the newest version of the client. And that's a very painful process I've lived through myself, especially when you have hundreds or thousands of users. So how we support the enterprise and the new enterprise that's working across different types of machines, might be wanting to use Chrome, might have testers on Mac that actually need to run test cases and be able to log the results of those test cases, is that we offer a true web app. So it's a different architecture than is provided by HP, nothing to install to be able to access the application. It's nice if you go somewhere and you need to use a different computer, you're using a loaner from your office, for example, you can log in with nothing really to install to access the application. So we're compatible with all the major browsers and give you full functionality, which is a nice thing and one less thing to worry about as you go through every upgrade cycle. Finally, I wanted to paint a picture here of how HP and QC can cause friction and inefficiency within DevOps. So, if you look at a typical DevOps workflow, and this was taken from working with one of our customers that recently moved off of HP, the flow for them is quite choppy. So they, find a defect in Jira that's been logged from testing. They need to then navigate to that same defect over on the ALM side. So there's typically a link provided by the synchronizer, take you back over to the defect in the ALM side, and then you go to the link in the ALM defect to get to the test run or the test result. Then from there you would need to trace back to the test case and the requirement on the ALM side, and then you have to go from ALM and click a link just to go back into Jira to view the user story that's been impacted and potentially change the status of that user story based on the defect to say that it's now ready for push out into production or needs to be withheld from the release, whatever it might be. So simple things like that happen hundreds if not thousands of times in a sprint, where you need to go just from the defect in Jira back to the user story in Jira so that you can make changes there, are almost impossible to do. It's just an incredible level of effort that needs to happen to get between both tools. And we provide a much more wholly integrated solution with a lot more visibility out of the box. No additional cost for any of these things, but you see what you get here is on a user story, you can view the linked defects automatically. Those are linked through QTest integration with no additional effort. You can get to any of the test cases that cover this user story right from the user story here in Jira, view all of the execution status of those particular test runs, and you can even look at historical trends of how that's been doing. So it's much more collaborative, and it really positions Jira as the solution to give you that holistic visibility on user stories and release progress, which we really feel like that that Jira is the tool for the next generation to support those functions. So, it'd be unfair really to just look at, what HP offers today. Obviously, there's a lot of very smart people that work at HP, and they've been coming up with a strategy about how they will handle these changes that are happening within the marketplace. So obviously, it's, important that we, acknowledge that they do have a future strategy, and we don't know all of it, but a lot of it is public. So what we can gather, we have shared here with you today. So HP Octane is really, looking to be the future platform in HP's eyes to solve a lot of these problems that we've discussed today. So where, HP, QC, and ALM might fall short, they hope that Octane will fill in some of these gaps here. So you see things like Gherkin supports and a real, web app with cross-browser support and DevOps workflows and things like that. They are really looking to support that. So at least that's the aim of Octane. What we've seen so far of it accomplishes some of these things, but leaves a lot of other questions open as well. And as is with everything, with HP, while it is, advertised, it's part of a 3-year roadmap. So there's always, subject to change. So we're not sure exactly what will be in, the commercialized release of Octane that's made available. But, for all of the things that it does solve, it does, bring a lot more problems to light. So a lot of customers of HP are starting to become worried because they see this great solution for this new tool that has a lot of promise, and when it's ready though, it's been communicated that there's really no clear holistic migration path. from the ALM.NET platform today into Octane. So there's the ability to sync defects through TaskTop. That was released recently, but as far as a public acknowledgement of a migration strategy onto the new platform, it doesn't seem to be one. So that's kind of a head scratcher and something that I know has frustrated some customers that have begun speaking with us. Also, they're going to continue, as far as we've been told, the plan to do a scheduled sync of defects with Jira, so it won't be a real-time integration, which again, still Octane is seen as a system of record for defect management. So it's still somewhat questionable if that's really the right strategy, because Jira is so much more affordable, very full-featured, a lot of plugins around it to assist with defect workflows and reporting, none of which will exist with Octane out of the gate at least. So why you would want to do all of your defect management in Octane and then have that be synchronized as an afterthought over to Jira is still a little bit questionable to us. And then finally, there's really no reporting to cut across both tools. So both ALM and ALM.NET or QC and Octane will have separate reporting platforms. So in terms of doing bimodal IT, where you have some teams doing waterfall, sometimes some teams doing this very agile type of development, you won't have a really good way of seeing across those two organizations. It'll be a very manual process to link those two worlds together. And so this is where, we come back to what I was alluding to earlier. There's a lot of rumors swirling around that HP is looking to offload software assets and autonomy, as well as Mercury, which are the HP, ALM, QC, QTP, UFT, Load Runner Performance Center tools. There's a lot of rumors going around about this today, and they just recently sold Extreme. From what I heard, so there's many other companies that they might spin out that were previous acquisitions, and Mercury is certainly a candidate for that, given sort of the state of stagnation there in terms of license growth, and also the high cost that they spent on those assets. I'm sure they're trying to get something back for those if possible. So it'll be interesting to watch this and sort of see where HP heads, going forward with this particular set of tools. So just to wrap up here, we're getting close to taking some questions that I've seen come in from the audience. We do believe that it's more than just a tool. It's not just the tools that you select, but sort of the holistic experience that, is what allows us to take customers that are very deeply entrenched sometimes in HPQC and move them over onto our solution and have them be happy customers. So I'm just interested to know if people are willing to share. And again, if you're not using HPQC, you don't plan to move off of HPQC at any point, or you're not scared of moving off of HPQC, you can always fill out nothing. But I'm interested for those folks that believe, sometime in the next few years, they may want to move off of QC, what sort of the biggest fear is that they have about trying to take something like that on. And we'll give you a couple more seconds here. All right, so yeah, by far and away, the largest fear, I think, is around data migration, as well as maintaining the same level of functionality that you have in your current system. Everything else seems somewhat minor beyond that. And so that's really one of the places where we're very unique, looking at three key areas outside of just the product where we have been successful. The number one thing that we get constant feedback on is our ability to migrate customers. Whether you have a very small amount of data, a very large amount of data, we have a proven migration path for you. We've built a self-service tool that takes exported QC projects and imports them into our platform. And it's so simple that you can really operate this tool yourself. but we also have a network of very strong partners that would be willing to assist you in best practices around that migration and do that migration for you. So that's something that can be offered at no additional cost, if you do it self-service. In many points, we've brought in partners as well as part of the agreements that we've launched to make sure that the data gets over smoothly and that we consider all of the new relevant features within Qtest and let you make the most of those as you complete the migration. We have very good support. People have told us that our former HP customers that the difference between us and HP as far as support goes is night and day. When you buy our licenses, it's sold as a subscription, so it includes a dedicated support rep. It includes all of your installation as well as kind of functional implementation, best practices. Every time we have an upgrade, we will be there to support you with the upgrade, especially if you're on-premise, getting that installed. If it's in the cloud, it will show up automatically, but training you on the new features involved in that release as well. And finally, we're very innovative. So, I know that a lot of companies have been waiting on feature requests for many years from HP, and they're concerned about getting the features that they need and the tool evolving to meet their constantly changing workflows and priorities. And so we can certainly support you there in the continued innovation that we've had with our roadmap over the course of the last 5 years of being in business. So our migration path is very complete here in comparison to other tools on the market. We're able to bring over users as well as custom fields and values. We bring over all requirements, test cases, the folders that they live within, links between those assets, so the requirement to test case link as well as the defect to test run links, etc. All test results are brought over as well as the hierarchy of those test labs and the defects obviously as well. So really knocks it out of the park in comparison to the other solutions. And then, we're also there for you as far as customer success is concerned. We understand that this is no small undertaking for you to move over onto our system from the HP world, and many people have had 10, maybe 20 years of putting data into those systems and using those systems every day. So we offer really a wide range of included support with our offering, which we find many of our HP customers really demand and enjoy. And then as far as innovation is concerned, when you're out in the market looking at other potential offerings to replace HP, I think you'll find that we have the most aggressive release schedule of any of those. As far as the cloud is concerned, we are very agile. We push out to our cloud environment about every 5 weeks. And so we're doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 releases this year, and that's going to be a lot of exciting major functionality, integrations to new automation tools, CI tools, many other things around parameterization and managing test data as well. So really major features. These are not just minor point releases. And then for the on-premise customers, every 3 of those cloud releases we package up and push out to you guys on-premise. So you have the option of taking a release with new functionality every 3 months, and our tool is Docker compatible, so we can get the tool installed and running in almost 15 minutes if you have all the hardware and everything available we need to get installed. And upgrades are similarly quick, so very little effort and overhead in that particular area. So just to wrap up here before we take questions, the 5 key takeaways that I think I would like everyone to come away from this webinar with would be the following. So the first one is that, really looking at it, HP is not a organically built software company. Software is something that's attractive to them for revenue purposes, and given everything that's going on with their hardware business, it is something that, their investors certainly enjoy, but it's still a very small segment of their business, less than 3% as of the close of 2015. So it's not a key focus for them. Mercury and these tools represents about a third of the 3%, so about 1% of their overall business. So as far as, really being concerned with major updates and major functionality, it's really not going to be something that's very much high priority on their roadmap. Many of the tools have not evolved, and that's something that I know many HP customers voice. 2006 is really when the reins were transitioned over from Mercury to HP, and the amount of functionality that's been rolled out since then has been relatively minor. A lot of major gaps still exist in the current platform. Using HP, given these limitations and given what we discussed, in terms of the major changes that have happened over the last 10 years, really can hold you back. There are a lot of operational inefficiencies to using a system, and it's obviously comes down to balancing those drawbacks with what the cost is of getting on a new platform, and seeing whether or not those drawbacks are going to outweigh the additional cost of moving on to a new platform and doing something new. HP is trying to evolve, so we don't want to ignore that. But at this point, at least for us, it's unclear if that tool, Octane, will be the right solution, and if it is, how HP customers currently using ALM and QC would be able to capitalize on that. And then finally, we know and we feel that we are the dominant HP replacement solution. We are the only people with a coherent migration strategy, and we've taken dozens of enterprises off of HP onto our platform today. So we certainly feel like if you're using HP and you're looking for other solutions to fit your needs as you move forward, we're the right people to talk to. So appreciate your guys' time. We have a few minutes here to take some questions from the audience that Reed is going to gather here.
All right, Kevin. Well, thanks for the great content. Certainly some interesting points made here. I've been flooded with questions, so I'm just going to go through here and pick off some of the ones that I feel are pretty good. The first one, really good question here, is what do you recommend for companies with both agile and non-agile teams? The non-agile teams are perfectly happy in Quality Center. The agile teams would love to use the Jira integration. What do you recommend for that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There are a number of different ways that we can support situations like that. For teams that want to, branch off and do their own thing and still have those results, whether those be the executed tests or the test cases that are created, be viewable over on the ALM and QC side for reporting purposes and reuse. We do partner with a company called OpsHub, and we have an integration that's coming live in this week that will sync requirements and test cases and test runs between the two systems. So it doesn't have to be a holistic approach for you to move off of QC and onto our platform. But for many other companies, they have found that our solution does offer some defect and requirements capabilities, albeit not as robust as what HP offers. So it may be enough that it's a good landing place and it can allow you to sever ties with HP completely and remove that large line item from the budget.
All right, great. Would you put IBM Rational tool suite in the same category as the HP tool suite? And what about IBM RTC?
Yeah, so that's a good question. IBM obviously has a number of different tools. There's many different automation tools, many different defect management, requirements management tools. I would say that, they have a lot of the same similar problems that are there with HP. We have seen that, HP, as far as market share, we believe to be at least double that of IBM. So similar problems, but the existing things that we see in the market most often is HP. So we have migration solutions as well around IBM, and we would be happy to discuss how we could support that move over onto our system from IBM as well.
Great. People are asking about the security of the cloud solution. Our company has been very reluctant to use cloud-based solutions. We have tests which could be used to cripple essential systems, so just ask about the security and safe of the cloud solution.
Yep. So our cloud solution is very secure. It's hosted on AWS. The high level of both physical and digital security around that, which we can certainly follow up with more information around. We've been through very, very stringent security reviews with many government contractors and financial institutions that are using our cloud. So overall, we do feel like even in regulated environments, it's a good solution and provides the level of security that enterprises will need to be able to cash in on the cloud.
All right. We're interested in replacing HPQC for a test case management solution, but we want to maintain the automated coverage we have built in UFT/QTP. Can we achieve this?
Definitely, yep. So this is one that we hear all the time. And in hearing this so often and servicing our existing HP customers, we just recently released a UFT QTP integration. So you can maintain all of those tests and have the coverage and results be reported back into Qtest to be consolidated with the other manual, scripted, and exploratory testing that you might be doing. And we also offer a number of unique integrations to open source options, partners that can help enable you in moving off of UFT to open source options or other more modern commercial options like TestPlant, for example. So we have a lot of solutions in the ecosystem to help you if you want to move today without giving up your existing automation coverage and then have a path forward for replacing UFT and QTP in the future should you desire to do that.
All right, great. So one of the audience members asked, I have used HP ALM my entire career. I have nothing to compare HP ALM to, so therefore it seems to work fine. My supervisors do not have hands-on experience with any other products. How should I make the case for new modern testing tools?
Yeah, so I think, in general, it's always great to have sort of top-down buy-in on new testing tools. So it really would be great if you understand the trends, that your company is trying to cash in on and sort of the direction that they're trying to go. You can work with us and feel free to engage us in ways that we can answer questions for you. We have ROI and case studies from many other customers that are seeing time efficiency savings about up to 50% over QC when moving onto our platform, and also teams that are experiencing, well over a 10x return on investment for what they're spending with us. So we can arm you with those assets. Many of them are on our sites and are available to the public. So we'd be happy to support you in communicating this initiative to your executive team.
Great, and then one more question, and we'll let everybody run here. Do you have any customers that use both Qtest and HPQC together?
Yes, so we do have many customers who do that. We have several products. We have Qtest, which is test case management, which again can run parallel to HP through OpsHub if you desire to do that. But we also have a product called Qtest Explorer, which is used by several of the largest banks in the world and some of the largest consulting companies in the world as well. And that can integrate directly into HP and provide a lot of efficiency gains and a lot of flexibility for Agile testers integrated directly into HP, and it will not compromise at all what's currently going on in HP. So it's very much so a frictionless solution with a quick ROI and very little upfront training cost.
All right. Well, Kevin, thanks for taking the time today to come and talk about this subject. We hope everybody enjoyed the webinar and the content. Feel free to ask the additional questions on the console, and we'll try to get through to them through a blog roundup of the webinar. So thanks for coming out and joining us today. We hope to see you guys soon on future webinars. Have a good day. Thank you.